Where's Panda?
I don't know.
You know what? I live in the same city as him. I'll find him.
Wait. But
Petey?
Huh. So, David, how about them lines?
Shut up.
Well, there you are.
Yeah.
Still offering to the drum machine. You put another face on my heart. The stars sing the screaming color. The odd symbol repeated. Not gonna be held back by the ranger's hour. No reaction without pain. I got more. Backpedal, pain just gotta give up the throat today.
Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. It's a good time had by all. I'm Petey Rave, your man on location, on the scene,
On the street.
on streets, here in the streets. Pretty close to these streets. Here with me, of course, remotely is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Drew. We got David.
It's okay. You can introduce Drew first. I don't mind.
We've got Drew.
When you did the claps thing, I thought you were about to go into it like Xavier Woods, and I was gonna yell at you about gimmick infringement, but then you didn't, and now I don't have a joke.
Yeah, no.
Drew stays loose. He doesn't keep it tight, everybody.
Exactly. Of course, we're here. We're here. Talk about music. We have a guest. We have our guest for these 4 episodes. We have the one, the only, here locally, here standing right next to me, the one, the only Blake, aka Panda Hacker.
Well, I mean, we're kind of sitting.
God, I'm just lost. I walked all the way from my house all the way to Little Haiti. Jesus, finding Panda here in Sweat Records, on location here at the wonderful Sweat Records in Little Haiti. We have literally Churchill's, one of the most well-known music establishments here in Miami, especially for rock and punk and all these really crazy shows. It's like, actually, it's more that way. It's on the other side of that wall that way. So this is a cool spot, I think, honestly, for this episode, and just to talk about music for Record Breakers. I wish I could be here every week.
So let's talk about a British pop artist, everybody.
Exactly. Speaking of Churchill's, let's talk about a British pop album. The provider of the album this week is our guest Blake, our guest Panda. Panda, what have you brought for us this week?
I brought you MIKA, Life's in Cartoon Motion.
Yes. It's an interesting album. It's not the first time we've talked about this album, because we kind of had and we've been having an adventure trying to record this episode for some reason. We tried recording back over in Little Havana. We're here in Little Haiti. We tried recording in Little Havana. Having ourselves some cafe. Like you do. that didn't work out because I forgot to press record. I did forget this time, and we've tried to record this episode, but we had thoughts already, so we kind of talked at length. But we're gonna revisit everything. Let's talk about some expectations. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
My expectations were, after doing some research and some of the Googling, was probably something poppy, but not Robo Girl, now Metal Girl poppy, and something campy and fun. And I was down for it.
Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I don't know if I really had any. I saw the album cover and kind of expected it to be a happier album as far as tonality goes, but besides that, I didn't really have super high expectations either way. Like, I didn't have any idea what I was getting into. So it can sometimes be fun.
Yeah, I didn't know quite what to expect when it came to this album. It was way back when, but I was curious. Let's get into what the album actually was. Panda, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes, elements that you would bring up?
I would say it's very pop. Like, most of the album is going to be extremely pop, but you are going to get certain themes that you may not find in a regular pop album.
Yeah. David, how would you describe this album musically?
I feel like we recently did an episode with Jack about the Scissor Sisters, I believe. And I believe the Scissor Sisters would be a good contemporary to MIKA. And if that's something that floats your boat or gravies your potato, that might be a direction you may want to go with MIKA.
Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I had never been confused by a record before. Like I said, I had never heard of MIKA, but sort of at the beginning, it was front-loaded, very like show tuney, and that kind of threw me because I wasn't expecting show tunes. Very, very heavy on piano as far as melody goes, which gave me Elton John vibes at times. But the vocals were what gave it, in my opinion, more of a stage production almost. The way he crafted vocal melodies. The production is, the fidelity is spit polished to almost a mere shine. And usually I will get on the case of a record for being a bit too polished sometimes. And if it's like rock and roll or it's punk rock, like I would definitely like be like, okay, like you can back off of the production a bit. But this being more of a pop-oriented record, it actually adds a lot to it, I think. Everything on the album, from a composition standpoint, from a layout standpoint, makes a lot of sense. But what really surprised me was variety, because there was a lot of stylistic choice. He had started show tunes, but there was more thoughtful stuff. There was big bombastic dance tunes. The lyrics at times were ranging from fun to trying to say something a little bit more pointed, which all of it I think was added to it by quite a bit.
Yeah, it definitely tried for a lot, and it definitely, I think, wears its influences on its sleeve, for sure, with like very much having that bombastic sound, very much a Queen-esque sound, but a little bit more pop like than Queen was rock, but it's more like the theatric elements, the theatrical elements that pervades it, and I think that all is cool and interesting. and I think can add, it does add to the feel of it. I don't know if it necessarily all hits for me, but I think it's definitely ambitious. Like, it's definitely somebody trying to do something in the face of people not wanting them to do that thing. He wanted to craft his own sound. And he definitely crafted a sound. But it's really interesting. But let's talk about some of the key tracks. Let's zero in on those key tracks. Panda, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Man, it's hard for me to pick key tracks just because things range so much that if you want to like pinpoint certain moods, you'll have tracks here, and then if you want to pinpoint another mood, you have tracks somewhere else. I think where MIKA or MIKA, I don't know how to pronounce it either, where he really like flexes his like production as well as his voice. Key tracks would be Happy Ending, Over My Shoulder. I do like The Message and Billy Brown, and Ring Ring was another like really good song.
David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Some of the key tracks, Petey Ray, for me, I'll start with Love Today. The bridge of this song as well as the outro really, I really loved this because he was just literally singing Nanny Nanny Boo Boo, and I popped for that. I really got a kick out of it. Ring Ring was the first song on the album that didn't really have that ultra campy vibe, and it was the one that really stood out to me for that reason, that it didn't come off as being way, way, way theatrical and campy. Also, Billy Brown. I liked that song, and it kind of sounded like the beta version of a Wayne Newton Toy Story song. Sounded like something that would have ended up on Toy Story, Billy Brown. But I like that one. I like that one quite a bit.
Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Grace Kelly starts off, and we really haven't heard a pop song with a stiff upper lip punk rock ethos since I think Brett brought Art Pop by Lady Gaga. The sort of fuck you attitude of the whole thing, I think, was kind of great. What was it? My interpretation, little heavy lyrically, which is cool, I think. But the music, the air guitar chords, sort of make the lyrics sort of a more pointed finger, I think, which is a cool juxtaposition. Big Girl, a song that, if you're at the Butterfly Lounge in California, probably goes over real, real well. Body positive message, great bass line, really, really cool for that kind of stuff. And just a dancey track on that one. And then Happy Ending. It's a 4-chord song. It's that, what is it, 1, 2, 4, 5 of the chord, and it's going to ride that. I think I've got my music theory right. It's catchy, and never having heard this, or never hearing this, the song as a whole, but somehow having it connect in my head somewhere, and having it be connected to the Axis of Awesome joke from the 4-chord song was just like, oh, that's funny. But that said, having that like structure makes it very, very catchy and very easy to get on board with.
Yeah, and there are some highlights. Like Grace Kelly start things off in a nice bombastic way, in a nice kind of like FU way, and kind of the message of the song. And then you get into songs like Love Today, where it definitely goes for like a hook, and it lands fairly well. Billy Brown is cool because it goes into a nice message and tells a nice fun story, which is really cool. And yeah, Big Girl, You Are Beautiful is definitely memorable. it's like it's a nice to have a sequel to Fat Bottom Girls. In very, it's nice that they provided a nice sequel track. You can have like how Metallica has Unforgiven 1, 2, and 3. You have Fat Bottom Girls, and you have Big Girl, You're Beautiful. Maybe somewhere in the middle.
You're just gonna forget about Baby Got Back, huh, Petey Rave? You're just gonna leave that out.
I was gonna slot that right in the middle. Just to add those two, and then you fit that one right in the middle.
There's a lot of things you can slap right in the middle of.
Yeah,
right in the middle. But I will say that there was a couple of these. Those were kind of the memo tracks, and I will say, as we get into like the last thoughts and conclusions, I will say that there were a couple tracks that maybe got the track skip in a bit, but let's talk about some of your all conclusions. David, at the end of the day, how would you conclude on this album?
I gave this a few listens, just because I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Yes, the obvious comparisons to Freddie Mercury are justified. You can definitely hear MIKA, and you can hear flashes of Freddie Mercury for sure. Overall, this was just a little bit too campy for me. I don't mind my pop music when it's a little subversive and a little self-aware of what pop is and likes to poke at pop and the ethos that it is. But this was pop music that was incredibly sincere. It was awfully sincere. It was so very sincere with all of its heartfelt messages on the whole album. And I'm a little too cynical for that. In the same vein as the last few episodes, I didn't really feel any problem with any of the songs. I just didn't love any of them.
Drew, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
Like we said, we maybe lost this recording to a bit of time the first time we gave it a shot. And going back through it again, to just refresh my memory, was not a slog. It was something that I was happy to do it because I think it was a record that was a lot of fun. I think that if you're coming into it to have a serious discussion about like jazz chord like composition and all these weird intricacies, it's not going to be there. But what is going to be there is something that is a well thought out, well constructed, fun pop record that can at times actually make some valid points and say things that are important, and I think that some people need to hear, and you have sort of a mix of that while still like I never stopped wanting to dance throughout this entire record. So
nice. I think overall it's a good and well-made pop record, and I'm not opposed to some just some nice sincere pop music. I literally host a K-pop podcast.
And we've all heard how I feel about K-pop already.
Yeah, and I think I can enjoy generally. I found myself not quite connecting with this all that well. I think there was something where there's maybe a little bit of a, if anybody's heard my anecdote about Almost Famous and the quote of Lester Bangs, posing as a poet thing, there's a little bit of poet posing in the sense of like it wants to. I don't want to be the pop singer that the record label wants me to be. I want to be this type of pop singer that's still just a pop singer. You think you're more cool and you're more artistic than you really are, but which is not to its complete detriment, but it's just that feel that some of it gives me. Overall, it's fun and can be a fun experience. didn't make me fall in love. It didn't quite hook me. But yeah, I think it could be enjoyable for a lot of people. But yeah, last but not least, Panda, you get the last word. How would you conclude?
This is definitely an album that I come back to a lot, just because of how varied the music can be sometimes. I say varied in a very like light sense, mostly because I tend to listen to songs on repeat a lot, and so there will be times where I'll listen to like Grace Kelly, Billy Brown, and Big Girl You're Beautiful, and then on another side I'll be listening to Happy Ending and Over My Shoulder like on repeat the entire time. So this is an album that definitely keeps me coming back just for certain moods.
Yeah. I think overall it's an enjoyable record and people should check it out.
Yeah, I keep on looking at the computer.
Let's get into the moment we've all been waiting for. Our haiku reviews. We sum it all up in poetic form. Let's get it popping. Now can you hang? Our haiku reviews. Let's get it started. David, what is your haiku? Oh. On second thought, Drew, what is your haiku?
A pop tour de force with shades of Elton. Just a touch more sass.
I will offer my haiku. Bombastic pop tunes with influences on sleeve. It's just not for me. And Deej, what is your haiku?
Cheeky and campy. It's brightly colored glam pop. I don't hold with it.
Exactly. Panda, finally, what is your haiku?
Talented singer, Sorry. Keep hearing myself. Talented singer, hyper pop songs with ringers, not for everyone.
But it might be for you. So you can, of course, listen to this album on our Spotify playlist, play Record Breakers, the home game, do your due diligence and your dude diligence. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record. We're still figuring out what we're going to do as far as like guests or person and things like that. But I know the record. It's still the same record we talked about. I mentioned the first time we recorded. It's going to be another really talented Florida act that has worked with Little John, like I mentioned when we talked about Pitbull. It's going to be Jacksonville's own Whole Wheat Bread and their album Hearts of Hoodlums. So look forward to that discussion. But that'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. First of all, Panda, where can people find you? Where can people seek you out to see your stuff if you got anything to promote?
Can find me basically anywhere that is at Panda Hacker. The only place that's different is Twitter, which is Panda_actual.
Twitter's sucking up. And of course, you can check this place out here in Little Haiti. This is Sweat Records. SweatRecordsMiami.com is the place. Check them out. Check out the online info and check out everything that they have here. They have really a bunch of great records, both ones you know, ones you don't. Beautiful selection. You can see behind me if you're watching on YouTube, just rows of amazing records used. They buy, sell. So go come check it out. Thanks once again to Sweat Records for allowing us to sit here and record this podcast. They're wonderful hosts. So yeah, thank you once again, Sweat Records. Go check them out. But like I said, we're all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Drew is at XDruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. Panda's at Panda_actual. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and elsewhere. Find us where you can find podcasts. We're on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify,
Give
SoundCloud.
Petey Rave a positive review. Give him the 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. He's worked really hard to put this together. Going all over Miami, dodging bullets, more than likely. No offense. To put
Walking.
this together. There were
This
casualties
heat.
in the record
Yes.
store. So, yeah. Give Petey a positive review. Why don't you?
Yes. So go check us out everywhere you find podcasts. Subscribe, like, share, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Boy.
Dale.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.